Yeah, kid. Welcome back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer podcast. My name is Charles, aka the Handsome Homebuyer, aka Captain Permit, aka El Judío Maravilloso. And before we get into this, I just want to talk about it a second. A little pat on the back because, I'm 40. 40's young. It's not super young, but it's not old. But I tried this new moisturizer out today, and I'm fucking glowing right now. Look at this. Look at this. It's freaking beautiful. You know who else is glowing right now all day, every day in the permit world? That's right. You know him. You love him. He's the best in the permit business. That's right. He's the man. Captain Permit. 516-513-8838. If you need plans, you need permits, if you need anything permit related, legalizations, new constructions, commercial, what am I missing? Subdivisions. I don't know. If you need anything permit related, if you have an issue with the town, we got you. We got the best staff in the business, 516-513-8838. And obviously, this podcast is also sponsored by Lotus Quotes, LOTUSQUOTES, the number one free real estate agent tool on Long Island. Quick scenario. You worked your ass off. You dealt with a crazy seller. They thought the house was worth $600,000. You knew it was worth $450,000. You broke your ass. You made videos. You marketed it. 30 people at the open house. Pandemonium. You arm wrestled with every offer. You got them 5 1/4. They didn't want to take it. You made them take it. It was the best thing they could have done. And then a week before you're about to get paid, you get the call from the attorney. And what does he say or she say? Let's be PC here. There's no permit for the friggin' deck. Had you gone to Lotus Quotes, when you listed the property and put in the information, you would have gotten a free CO search from Captain Permit. They would have told you there was no CO for the goddamn deck, and we wouldn't be in this mess to begin with. You also would have gotten a free insurance quote from Allstate. If you're in a flood zone, that's even better and more important. And you get a free tax grievance analysis from our friends at Heller Consulting Group. LotusQuotes.com. You can't beat it. Every realtor needs it. Don't fuck around. Don't waste time. List a property. Go there every single time. All right. Banging guest today. I was honored to be on this gentleman's podcast last week. It was eventful in many ways. Some ways we're going to talk about here. Some ways we're just going to keep between him and I. Super high energy dude, super successful, unbelievably interesting. This man turned a barbershop business into, wait for it, an $11 million gross a month mortgage business that he's writing by himself. His team's got $20 million in this month. Just him by himself, $11 million. This guy is proof that I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear excuses from anybody out there. If you want a successful career in anything, this guy was cutting hair 2 years ago, and now he is living the life of his dreams. He is Sal Rizzolo from Cardinal Financial. Yo!
Charles, what's going on, man?
Dude.
Holy crap. How does somebody follow up an intro like that?
Good to when you take it on the road, I will be your hype man.
Seriously, that's going to be our next hire.
I will. I'm there for you. I'm there for you with whatever you need. So, bro, tons of things to talk about. I'm fucking fired up. Once again, I got to thank you for the honor of you inviting me out to your place, coming on your podcast. It was very cool. We had a great time. Really delved into a lot of stuff that was going on into the market. But I want to use this opportunity to really focus in on you because you've had a very cool journey. You've had a lot of experience for a young guy. You're only 32 years old. You're crushing the mortgage world in a way that kind of defies logic because you've only been doing it for 2 years. You don't really market. You don't really leave your office or your house. Yet the business just keeps
it rains. It keeps raining. Yeah.
Just keeps raining. And you don't look stressed. You look well rested. Hairline's tight. It's all good.
Those are just good genes. The stress is there, but it's it's part of the job.
But you hide it well. So I want to take it back a little. I always like to give a little background information. Talk about where you grew up, kind of things that went on. Like you're a local Long Island guy, right? Born and raised. Yes.
Born and raised. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Where?
Deer Park.
Okay, so Deer Park.
Suffolk County. Yeah.
Did you ever drag race on DPA?
I mean, I thought I was drag racing. The car next to me probably didn't know what was going on. I was 16 years old and my car barely moved, so that's what I was working with.
So talk a little bit about, upbringing, where you came from, were you a good student type of deal? I feel like the most successful people are always the most rebellious.
Yeah, I was definitely a good student until like 8th grade. I was the honor roll kid, and it was, all that mattered was hundreds across the board. And then
Really?
high school, until 8th grade. And then high school, I got a friend or two. And then, it was all downhill from there. So we did, it was me and my sister. My sister was always a badass compared to me, but we were always really close. We're only 11 months apart.
Okay.
So we grew up with each other, and, so her friends were always over, my friends were always over, and we all used to just go out and, we would cause trouble. So by the end of high school, I was, I don't want to say I was cutting class, but I just wasn't going. And, I graduated high school and I started going to college, and I went in and out because I just didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to end up. I took a course for court stenography. I did that for a few days, 3 years of college. I worked for 3 days. I quit.
Wait, so just kind of revisit that, because I feel like you just kind of glanced over that. I could never, like I said to you when you told me this the other day, I could never picture being a stenographer because you got way too much personality to be sitting there like.
Well, all I heard when they pitched it to us was, you make $100,000 a year being a court stenographer, and I thought it was typing. So I was like, hey, I could type. I can make $100,000 a year. That's going to be for me. My whole life was made up in that minute, and halfway through school I was pot committed, so I didn't quit. I should have quit the first week,
So you spent 3 years, I don't even know how much money going to school. You got out of it. You went for your first day of work, and what happened?
It was one day. And then the kid that I shadowed told me that, he told me that he spent about 60 hours a week working, but it was worth it because at the end of the week, he'd get a check for $1,400. And I looked at his face and I was like, I'm never going to see any of these people ever again. And I left and I never went back. I was making more money cutting hair by the time I did that.
So how did you get into cutting? So you were cutting hair prior to that. How did you ever get into cutting hair?
So cutting hair started in high school. I used to sell DVDs in high school, and it was funny because I went to the barber shop, and the barber that was cutting my hair, we got to talk, and I told him I had them. He took 5 of them from me, and he said, how much? I said, don't worry about it. And I said, how much is the haircut? He said, don't worry about it. And ever since then, I used to go to the shop and try to move some CDs here and there. And the owner of the shop asked if I wanted to learn how to cut hair.
So I got to ask you a question, because I always wondered, because we used to buy those back in the day. Where do you to sell those? Where do you get them?
So if this is something I had been doing, right? You could always use the internet, but I had duplicators, I had towers, I had, I was making 700-800 of them an hour by the time I was done. It was
because you get all different kinds. Like you get the ones where like you can hear them speaking Chinese in the background.
I didn't do that. I never had those. We used to wait for what we would call screeners, like ones that were like really, really clear.
Okay.
And if I didn't have a screener, I didn't sell it. And that was it. So people knew that if they came to me, they were getting clear movies. They didn't have to ask. And it just became like an alternative to, to go into the store and spending $25 a pop. You get 6 for 20 here. And I built an entire business on that. And I floated myself as a career until I learned how to cut hair. And I was able to leave that behind and focus on cutting hair. And I did the exact same thing with mortgages.
Wow. So back to the court stenography. So you did court stenography for a day. You're like, screw this, which is, I mean, bro, that's a big deal. Like, I don't know if you give yourself a lot of credit for that, but that's a fucking big deal. Like, you just put in 3 years of your life, spent money to do this, and literally the day you walked in there, you were like, I'm never coming back here.
No.
And I mean, you had barbering as a fallback plan, but still, that's a big deal.
I know. Well, I remember I told my mother, and and my mother's never one to disagree with anything I say. And she's like, give it a chance. She's like, you spend so much time, you got to try it. And I just said, I sat there for a day. I said, every single day that I do that from here on out is just going to be another day that I'm pissed off that I haven't figured out what I'm actually going to do. So if I'm going to make the same amount of money cutting hair in my sweatpants around the corner from my house, I'm not putting on a suit just to impress somebody and say that I do it. I'm not going to do it.
So I'm going to compare barbering to bartending in the sense that I have this theory that bartenders are some of the best people in business and most successful people in business. And they've been able to like leverage that network and their ability, their interpersonal skills to be successful above and beyond in business. So, you know, how did you parlay barbering into, you know, getting into the mortgage business, A, and then B, how did you parlay your relationships and what you've learned barbering into an insane mortgage business?
So I've had conversations with this about bartending. I've multiple times, and we didn't speak about this last time, but I've compared bartending to barbering, you know, on many occasions. So they're both industries where, you know, you get what you put out of it, or you get out of it what you put into it, I should say. So you could be a shitty bartender and get $1 tips for the course of the night, or you could say to yourself, hey, I'm going to be here for 8 hours tonight. Let me talk to these people. Let me give these people a reason to like me. Let me give these people a reason to want to hand over money to me for whatever reason it is. And you do the same thing as a barber. So I was getting $15, $20, $25 tips from people when I first started cutting hair, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was destroying their hair. And the people next to me were given, you know, full blown 10-year veteran haircuts, and people were giving them $3 and $4. And I'm like, these people don't like you. You're not talking to them. They don't look forward to coming here. They get a haircut. Sometimes they make an appointment with you. So that was always my philosophy at the barbershop, was always, always customer service, always run on time, always, you know, people budget a half hour to get a haircut. You can't be 45 minutes late when they come to the barbershop. You know, it could ruin their whole day. So the people with a lot of money have places to be. And most importantly, they work during the weekend. They need haircuts on the weekend.
So were you always an outgoing, personable person? And then where did you learn those things? Because
I was never.
Really?
I was never. No. In high school up until 10th grade, I was afraid to even raise my hand in the classroom because I didn't want to talk.
And then what happened?
And then I think I don't know if this is public knowledge back maybe 15 years ago, but I started breakdancing in high school.
Like my boy Matt, our visual.
Yeah, and we actually joined the talent show against what I wanted to do, and ever since I did the talent show in 11th grade, I don't know, I feel like that was the minute, but I kind of just came out of my shell there, and that was right around the time I was working at the barbershop.
Okay.
And I could talk, I just always had a problem starting it, getting it going.
But where did you learn, like, dude, there are people that are grown ass men and women that are 40 some odd years old that show up 30 minutes late. Like innately at such a young age, 16, 17 years old, how did you know these things? Like, how did you know how to relate to people, make sure you're on time, make sure you provide an experience? Where did that come from?
I don't know. So I've always been like I'm very, very rarely late. And if I am, I know I'm going to be late before I get there. Like, you're not going to catch me calling you 10 after 5 to tell you that I'm going to be late for 5 o'clock. Like, it's, but to me, that's probably from the barbershop because everything's run so tight. Everything is 15 minutes, a half hour. So you get used to running to a schedule. And, if you have a booked schedule on a Friday and you show up a half hour late for the day, you're done. Like, your whole day is just ruined. You got everybody's coming in waiting for you. Everyone's looking at their watch. Everyone's huffing and puffing. So it probably just came out of necessity. And then, it's everything that I learned in the barbershop has transferred to what I do now at the bank, as crazy as that sounds.
So so you're in the barbershop. How do you transition into doing mortgages?
So I started cutting my now boss's hair. His name is Frank. I've been cutting his hair for 10 years. And I would probably pick his brain, every time I cut his hair, but